Over 20 years, Beaumont built up this impressive collection that he was very, very keen should be shared not only by him and his circle of friends, but by many people, the nation as a whole. But at the time, there were no formal art galleries of a permanent kind. There was no National Gallery. The British Museum did exist, but it was full of antiquities. There were the occasional exhibitions, but of course they were temporary. And you could see art in the London auction houses, but of course that was only for a few days before they went under the hammer and disappeared into private collections around the world. He went on several grand tours around Italy, and he was very aware that Italy and France and other European countries had wonderful public art collections. He was also worried about what would happen to his collection because he had no heir, and he wondered what would be the fate of his collection after his death. Things came to a head when the collection of another patron of the arts, John Julius Angerstein, came up for sale. At that point, unexpectedly, the British government had a repayment of a war loan that it had given many years before to its ally, the Austrian government. And therefore, people advocated that with that money, they could buy the Angerstein pictures. And this is what the government decided to do with a large amount of prompting from Sir George Beaumont, who teased the government by saying, if you buy the Angerstein collection, I will give you my pictures in addition to those. Beaumont was very keen to help patronise British painters, so he bought paintings from a group of British painters, but he also invited them into his houses, both in London and his country seat, Coleorton, in Leicestershire, to look and study his old master paintings. One of the invited visitors was John Constable, the great landscape painter, and at the National Gallery we have a wonderful painting of the grounds of Coleorton Hall that Constable painted, and in it we see a cenotaph that was erected in the grounds of Coleorton Hall to Joshua Reynolds, who was a great hero of George Beaumont. When Constable was staying at Coleorton, he wrote to his wife in ecstasy, telling her that he was surrounded by Claude's, genuine Claude's and Poussins and Wilson paintings, and he wrote, "My mind is filled with nothing but Claude's all day long." Claude Lorraine was probably the most beloved painter for Sir George Beaumont, and he had a number of Claude's paintings in his collection. This painting here of Hagar and the Angel, an Old Testament scene, was the favourite painting of Sir George Beaumont. He bought it very early on, in about, we think, 1785, and it remained in his collection throughout his life. When George Beaumont gave the cream of his collection to the nation, he quickly realised that he couldn't actually live without Hagar and the Angel. So he begged that he could have it back for the remainder of his life. His wish was granted, and so he kept this one painting back for another 2 years until his death. In fact, he loved the painting so much that he had a special travelling case designed for it so that he could have the painting with him wherever he went. When the Chancellor of the Exchequer confirmed the gift of Beaumont's pictures, he predicted that many other gifts and bequests would follow to make the National Gallery a very splendid collection. And this is exactly what has happened ever since. One of his contemporaries, a painter called Haydon, said that really, although Angerstein's collection was very tempting, had it not been for Beaumont's offer of his own collection, it is a question whether the British government actually would have acted and bought the Angerstein collection when it did. So really, the laurel should be given to Beaumont, and in Haydon's opinion, he was worthy of being considered the founder of the National Gallery, and I think today many other people would agree with that verdict.